How do you know, Rick, that you're not on the Epstein list?
I'm pretty sure. Never
We are
met him.
live. Hey, we are live, guys.
Oh, we are live. Hey guys. Um, for those of you who are not on the Epstein list, as we are not,
And feeling left out.
I know I feel a little lonely. But now, if we were, you'd never know, because we're in the middle of the biggest government cover-up since, I guess, Watergate. We have senior government officials covering up the contents of a file in which the president is almost certainly named, and we have the president of the United States today. I believe the technical term is losing his shit during an Oval Office meeting. And folks, I got to tell you, here at the Lincoln Project, we make fun of Donald Trump sometimes. We savage him with moral criticism other times, but there are some days he just makes our job easy. So I'm joined tonight by Stuart Stevens and Jeff Timmer, senior advisor and chief operating officer of the Lincoln Project, respectively. And guys, I don't know how much you're watching the meltdown going on in MAGA world, but I have never seen anything like this in 10 years of watching this cult in action. Jeff, we'll start with you.
Well, when you say Trump is losing his shit, that takes on a special meaning in the White House. That usually is a sign that he needs to have the diaper changed.
The diaper valet must be summoned.
Right. But yeah, they've spent how many years, kind of acculturating, brainwashing the entire MAGA cult of rubes to, assume that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and everybody who's ever been a Democrat or voted Democrat or seen a Democrat is on this list and has been to the island. And there's no way somebody is upstanding and God-fearing and family value driven as Donald Trump could possibly be on the list. And you have Kash Patel and Dan Oingo Boingo or whatever his name is talking about this for years on their podcasts.
Deep State Dan.
Yeah, and Pam Bondi, we all know, she says, the list is here on my desk. We're reviewing it before it's released. And then, now it's suddenly, there is no list, they say. So, Maxwell's in prison. Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison for apparently nothing, trafficking to nobody. But I think these people have earned the benefit of the doubt. It's not like they'd lie about things, especially something like this.
Administration, right? Heaven forfend. Stuart,
what the weird thing to me about this is how the MAGA world pushed for this, knowing that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were running buddies for years. I mean, it makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, of all the people on the planet, not a whole lot of people, it's a small number of people hung out with this guy like Donald Trump did. And somehow it just was like crazy talk. What they should want this buried. And yet they've been sort of seized with it, I guess, under some kind of, it's sort of like a pizza conspiracy.
The Pizzagate.
Pizzagate, that there's this secret world where these things are happening. But man, I just would have shut the fuck up about it if I knew that the guy that I was supporting hung out with Jeffrey Epstein.
You would think that there would be a moment of clarity somewhere where they would go, hey, this might not be my best angle. Really? This might not be the approach I want to take on this one. And yet, here we are.
Yeah. Well, what's going to be interesting what's going to be interesting is to watch how they can try to get their footing back on this. This right now is dividing the MAGA folks, the influencers. You got the Alex Joneses and people like that. Just they are losing their shit in a different way than Trump is probably. But it's can we the strategy that we should be looking at, that the Democrats and the pro-democracy warriors out there should be looking at, is how to sow the seeds of division now that they're kind of manifesting themselves here.
Right.
It's likely that Donald Trump and MAGA will find some way to convince people that none of this matters. They're people. That's what they've done all along. So they'll nothing has ever stuck to Trump this probably won't in the long run, but maybe it's what kind of damage can be done to the movement, sowed seeds of distrust, discord that do exist as people are starting to think about what the world's going to look like in 3.5 years when Trump hopefully doesn't run again.
I mean, the great thing our social media team was doing the last couple of days, we're finding all these quotes. Brandon Grader, our brilliant social media director, is going through all these quotes from MAGAs saying, "Release the Epstein files. Where are they?" Don Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance. I mean, all of them are for a decade spent a tremendous amount of time making this argument that there was a secret cabal of Democrats who were involved in a global satanic child pedophile cannibal ring where they extracted a hormone called adrenochrome from children while they were raping them so they could maintain immortal life. That was literally what these people defended for years. And even the guy who started the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, Jack Posobiec, is out today going, "Oh shit, what the hell? We're not going to release this?"
Well, I mean, look, I don't think it's a coincidence, is it, that when Elon tweeted about it, release it, that some hours later, Trump made his move on LA. I think the answer to your very spot on question, Jeff, is they're going to keep trying to do more of what they think works. Like the alligator Alcatraz, like what went down in LA today. Where they seem to be in Griffith Park sending armed formations through Griffith Park.
Apparently, there was a cavalry charge for the first time since 1939.
I mean, if you had just been sort of driving around in LA, you thought like, well, maybe like Ridley Scott's filming has some shoot here, but no, like these are actually our people that are doing this. And I think that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to run out of countries to blow up.
So there's lots more American cities they can invade.
Yeah. And, I think an angel sprouts wings every time somebody tweets, "Why aren't you doing this like where the Russians are in Brighton Beach?" Because there's a lot of illegal Russians.
Or Sunny Isle in Miami, which is coincidentally the home of multiple Trump condo properties that are extraordinarily popular with Russians who come here to have anchor babies. Weird how that's not happening there. It's a total coincidence. I have to say, one of my favorite tweets today, and I posted it in one of our chats this morning, and I want to do it justice here, folks, because I truly it was so much I almost could not believe what I was reading. This is from an account. It's not a big account, but it started to make the rounds this morning. It's a Trump account, a pro-Trump account. A guy named Arby Gambles. "I love Trump. He's the best leader of our lifetime and maybe in history. But no one, even in MAGA, thinks he's not a pedophile / into incest. It's not ideal, but it's a flaw we live with, and I doubt he still acts on it. No one is perfect, but Trump comes awfully close. Move on."
Yeah.
Wow, that's
we all used to belong to a party where Peggy Noonan wrote a book called Character is King.
Character is King.
And at moments like this, I feel like I'd like to do a dramatic reading from the Book of Virtue by Bill Bennett.
Bill Bennett's Book of Virtues. Oh my God. There's
he went on eloquently about it. How it degraded the public discourse to have Bill Clinton, and how the Oval Office was not a place where a normal executive went to work, that it held this special sanctimony. Now, as a side, just to the Book of Virtue, I understand this from a very good source that the guy who was hired to ghostwrite this, Bennett spent all the advance money on gambling, so he couldn't pay him. So he talked him into doing a deal where take percentage of the royalties of it, which, the guy thought, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to make any money. And then ended up
Oh,
making
he
a
made
lot of
money.
money for it, which
Yeah.
was just like the perfect virtue.
And Bill Bennett was a degenerate gambler. Bill Bennett would have bet on a fart. That guy was a degenerate gambler. I saw him at the race. I saw him at a horse race one time, and I was like, that guy who lectures people on moral probity is here at a fucking horse race in Maryland at the track at Laurel. I'm like, okay.
Maybe if Trump confesses his sins and submits to chemical castration or something like that, we could forgive him.
I don't know. There's a theory of the case that he's already the first lady. Spends a lot of time on decorating in the White House.
Yeah, flagpoles and new ballrooms and
and all his Timu meets Saddam meets Liberace's decorator style. All the gold leaf. But guys, I want to get back to this for 1 second, because we really had the cognitive dissonance inside MAGA today. The through line for a decade was there's a secret Epstein file. It's going to blow up all Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, everybody in the Democratic Party. They're all there. They're all involved. And I'm just, like I said, this, I don't think I've ever seen anything in Trump, in the Trump era, that has caused them more public and publicly displayed anxiety. This thing, I mean, even if you take the Tara Palmieri argument that this was that they're not releasing it because there are other people about to be prosecuted from it, I just still find it fascinating how badly they bought their own BS about this stuff. How badly they bought into this. I mean, Epstein's monstrous, no question about it. Mm-hmm. But how they bought into this idea, they filled in a blank that never existed of saying, oh, they're all Democrats. Once we get the list, it'll approve and it'll take them all down. Because does this speak to something inside? Does this speak to a deeper crack in the MAGA movement? Apropos to your question, Jeff, like, is there a way we can exploit this?
Well, there is. When you look at the other kind of big news with Elon, talking about kind of becoming Ross Perot on steroids with even more money than Ross Perot had with his new American Party. And now today, Elon is saying Steve Bannon's on the list, on the Epstein list. He was tweeting about that. Yes, I think that this shows that there's going to be some cannibalism within the MAGA right as it bifurcates into the tech bro Elon world. And I mean, I'm not foolish enough to think that a bunch of the MAGA diehards are going to leave Donald Trump world to follow Elon, but Elon can cause a hell of a lot of damage if he decides to keep flying kamikaze here against Donald Trump and MAGA.
I think, Jeff, there's something in that moment that in a way, I mean, we're talking about this the other day, like, what is the Lincoln Project's job? Our job is to go out and elect people who are pro-democracy. Now, we haven't had any Republicans we could really get behind for a very long time. And so we've tried to take out Trump. We did it in 20. We took out 17 of these Republican targeted races that we did in 2022. We obviously swung for the fences last year, but it would have been good to have some better help on the Democratic side. Okay. But right now, if Elon's out there and he gets candidates, and I think Elon has to catch up on something. He's right now saying, oh, well, we're going to primary them. Well, if you primary them, Elon, they have to be Republicans. I think if Elon figures this out and starts fielding fiscal conservative, limited government, not necessarily all Elon types, but pro technology, pro innovation type candidates, you could let Lincoln Project peel off our percentage of those Republican leaning voters, and he peels off some more. I think you can have a very bad year for the GOP if he does this in a serious way. That's still, to my mind, the open question, because as we all know, this ain't easy.
Right. Well, in Elon, you go ahead, Stuart. Yeah, I've been talking.
Yeah, go, Stu.
No, I was just going to say that, I mean, as somebody who worked for Bush, it is hard to argue that Ralph Nader didn't elect Bush, and that was
Mhm.
a very small percentage of the numbers. Um, and if you look at what Jill Stein did to Clinton,
Right.
and I haven't seen any polling on this, but I'd feel confident saying that if you were doing uh, Elon support for a new party or Elon candidates, 95% of that comes out of Trump. Because I think that
Oh yeah.
any
Mhm.
of the sort of juju that Musk had, the great environmentalist and the rocketeer that's going to save the universe, was all just put on like a burning Viking ship and sent out to sea when he
Right.
was out there, uh, seemingly ripped on drugs with chainsaws. Which really
Right.
is, I mean, we don't. I don't know of any case in modern business where somebody so went after their base market. I mean, MAGA people don't buy Teslas. I
No.
mean, it was like insane. It would be like, Steve Jobs and Apple deciding that, like, computers all cause cancer and kill you, or that iPhones, kill you. Um, and so, you look at these 26 races that or
Yep.
so that everybody's got on their target list. And
Mhm.
I got to make it a pitch here, back up Rick on the Lincoln Project. There's all this, I think, painful, unnecessary, unproductive discussion within the Democratic Party about their sort of internal workings. But none of that affects us. That
Right.
doesn't affect anything that we do with the Lincoln Project. We don't have a vote in who's chairman of the party. We don't have any, no one asks our opinion on it.
Nope.
All we're about is not like what the process is. We're just about how we best can beat these people. And
Right.
it's why I got to say, when you donate to the Lincoln Project, it's the most efficient expenditure of your dollars, because we're not out here holding 200, reading the New York Times, they're having 250 focus groups about how to talk to young men. Like, really? Really? You really want to do that? Like, if you
Trust me,
never been
folks. We're not big focus group people.
yeah, young men are that complicated? Really?
Really? Young men don't like being told that they're that
Really?
they're that they're demonic? Oh,
They're
who knew?
sitting around reading Nietzsche or something, trying to decide what the meaning of their life is. Um, I mean, we just go straight to where we know it's the most effective.
Yep.
Um,
Mhm.
and look, there's could be a chance that this 26 moves north and we end up in a 2010
Yeah.
situation where it was bad for Democrats, or, a 2004,
94.
94.
Yeah.
That's what really should be, because none of this is going to change until you win. I mean,
Right.
that's the bottom line. I mean, we're all out here, and that's why these Virginia races are so important, because they really will set a tone. And we're in this situation that's not the ideal situation, where there's an expectation that the Democrat's going to win. So if a Democrat didn't win, it's sort of a double whammy here, where you would have underperformed. No
Right.
one is saying this is really a toss up, and numbers show her considerably ahead. So you need to win that. Um, and then until you control the House, and I think the Senate has some possibilities, it's gotten a lot better with North Carolina.
Absolutely.
Um, that's how you're going to have power. And then we can talk about what the Democrats ought to do with that power. I mean, I think they need to quit acting like they are a governing party. They need to quit acting
Right.
like they are a responsible governing party, which is a weird thing to say, but that is not what this moment needs.
No. It needs
They need to
warriors.
go in there the first day and pass a bill to cut off funding for the executive branch.
Yep.
They need to nationalize SpaceX. They need to nationalize Starlink.
They need to
They have,
go in. They need to go in and pull Pam Bondi and Bongino and Patel and every one of these son of a bitches, and Tom Homan and Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller. They should make sure that the minute those guys the asses leave the seat of one hearing, they're in another hearing.
yeah,
They need to throw sand and clogs this into the gears of this machine. They
Mhm.
need to be an opposition party. And I had somebody tell me this the other day, like, Schumer wakes up at night worried that if people see us as a obstructionist party, they'll punish us at the polls. Get the fuck out of here, man. People will reward you for being obstructionist to evil.
Yeah. Well, it seems like so many political pros, and especially the big organizations, fall into this trap of yes, you should learn from your mistakes or learn lessons from the last war, but the next war is usually very different than the last one.
Right.
And so rather than figuring out everything you would have done differently in 2024, none of that is really going to matter in 2028.
Yeah.
It's going to
By
be
the way,
a
the
completely
DNC is
different
paying a
landscape.
consultant to tell them which young male podcast to go on.
Right.
I mean,
So the Democrats are doing way too much, I think, introspection and soul searching and trying to change their own DNA
Right.
when all they did, and Stuart, you said this, all they did was lose an election. They didn't
Yeah, I mean, some of us
lose
just
their
done that before
humanity.
when
They
we
didn't
moved
lose their
on.
souls.
Yeah.
They didn't lose their identity. And so get over it, go on, and get get ready for the next one. And
Listen. Two things that just kill me here, right? One, how is it that we're talking about the crisis the Democratic Party's in when the Republican Party
is covering up Donald Trump's relationship with a pedophile pimp?
Yeah, you have these people like Kash Patel, you have Kristi Noem, you have these Tulsi Gabbard, a functional Russian agent running the government,
right?
And
RFK.
We're out there. I mean, if we had said on this show a year ago to this day, if we had said, look, guys, if you elect Donald Trump, he's going to have masked men with a budget larger than the Marines chasing brown people around the country. People would have said, no, you guys are just like hysterical. That's crazy. You got to calm down and focus on what counts. And here we are. And it just, how is it that the Democrat Party is the problem here? It's not perfect. They lost an election. They screwed some things up. But listen, that's what happens. How do you need a focus group to tell you how to attack Donald Trump?
The mind it is absolutely boggles.
I mean, it's why when we were all working for Republicans, we won a bunch of races we shouldn't have won. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah,
they could always count on the Dems to do what the Dems are doing.
Yeah.
And you throw the lure into the water, and they're like hungry bass. They just jump at it. And
100%. And that's one of the roles I think that we've tried to play at Lincoln is to say, don't take the bait. Don't go die on the stupid battlefield of culture war. Go and fight on the things that are going to help you win. And look, while no voter in 2026, folks, is going to cast a vote against the Republican candidate based on Jeffrey Epstein, there may be some MAGA folks who by that point are so they were invested for a decade in it, and now they're being told, nah. They may be a little less juiced up.
So let's go back to, was it January 5th, 2021, when two Democrats, a Jewish guy and a black guy, got elected, from Georgia?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did that happen? It's because Trump gave enough negative messaging to Republicans that it really didn't matter how you voted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they pulled. I mean, it was like winning a World Series in 4 perfect games. We'll never see another moment like that.
Oh,
but
no,
it wouldn't
no.
have happened had Trump not been counter messaging. So the usefulness of this counter messaging is, okay, you elect Donald Trump, you get these people in there, you get Kash Patel, you get all your favorite creeps and weirdos, and now they're defending Jeffrey Epstein. So like, why bother?
Right.
I mean, what am I really getting out of this if these guys are going to go and protect Jeffrey Epstein and the people that were hanging out and, doing these unspeakable things with children? I mean, look, that decreases their enthusiasm, decreases their passion. And, I don't think at any time that I can remember where passion has been more important and of a higher value. I mean, you look at Bernie and AOC out there. I don't think a lot of this is because people are like in love with their ideology as much as they believe in it. They're out there saying something that's passionate.
Right. They'll go out and swing for the fences. They'll go out and express emotion. They'll go out and argue about making people feel like they're fighters rather than saying, please consult Appendix 4 on page 797 of our policy directory. That stuff doesn't work. And I think, and Trump is a policy-free candidate from the very beginning. There is no real policy except watch me shit all over the place and throw my feces like a monkey in a zoo. But yeah, no, folks, it's
I was talking to somebody who's working that we all know well, working for Trump.
yeah.
They worked in other campaigns like the Bush campaign that we'd worked in, and they were like, in like the Bush campaign, the Romney campaign, there was always like these people over there. And they
Those
were all
guys.
blue
There were
blue
always those
collar.
guys.
And they were producing like more policy papers in like the Renaissance,
Right.
It's like, we don't have that. Those
Right.
people.
They're so smart. And I love those. I love policy guys like Lanny Chen. Like just they think through
Brilliant.
complex problems, right?
Lanny is what my mother wanted me to be.
Same. Yeah.
It's just,
like a brilliant
5
analytical
Harvard
thinker, and yet it's guys like me and Stuart and Jeff, like the asshole guys, like let's go put firecrackers in the hubcaps of that car,
Right. Well, that's the thing people
Hold
don't
my
they
beer.
never realize is that policy papers, policy positions and campaigns are nothing more than something we take out of the prop room, and put on stage for a little bit until, they're a tool to win over certain minds and certain votes in certain circumstances. They are not what an election hinges on. So
heart and gut beat the head every single time in these affairs. And I do think there are some broken hearts in MAGA world tonight. And I'm just, my thoughts and prayers go out to them because it's going to be a hard one. All right, guys, we have done just about what we do on the show. We do it a half an hour. This was a fun one. Hey, everybody, listen, if you are tuned in tonight, do me a favor, share this with your friends. We want to make sure that we're spreading the word from Lincoln Square, because we are building something here that is growing so fast. I think we're the number 3 rising Substack in politics now. We're right up there with the Bulwark and Midas, and we're all pulling the boat in the same direction. Every one of these great outlets is doing work to communicate a pro-democracy message, work to keep people motivated and moving forward, work every day to tell the folks that on the Trump side and the MAGA side who thought we were going to lay down and let them win easily. No, we get up and fight every day. We fight because the folks like you have supported us at Lincoln Square and the Lincoln Project, and we are deeply grateful for that. You should check out. We've got a lot of content across the board. We've got That Trippy Show. We've got the great Anchor Watch, with Bobby Jones. Who, if you have not watched it, he is
Bobby Jones.
God
If
bless America.
Bobby Jones was a stock, I would buy the hell out of it.
Right, I'd buy the shit out of that stock.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not watching, just say Bobby Jones is a Naval Academy graduate, African American from Georgia, played football for the Academy. Brilliant, magnetic,
typical
guy.
Underachiever.
Yeah, exactly.
Career
brilliant,
Navy.
Focused, has an ability to articulate the moment. It really is incredible. I think we're so lucky at Lincoln Square that to have him.
Since Jeff isn't very busy, we're trying to get his podcast full-time up on the network as well. We'll get you there. We will get you there, Jeff. We've got Maya May. Maya May does Punching Up. And Maya is one of my favorite human beings because she helps people really think through a lot of the emotions that the authoritarian movement wants you to feel and teaches people how to break that code. I love her stuff. You can also get
extraordinary. Look, I mean, you guys about my extraordinary individual. She's very successful in the business world.
Yeah.
And then became a very successful comedian.
Yep.
Incredible communicator.
One of my favorite people.
Yeah. And we talked about doing live shows like some of those folks are doing. If we ever do, you see someone like Maya, you see someone like Bobby, they have this presence that is just compelling that really you need to see this in person and meet them. And I hope we can do that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to putting that together. We've also got so much content coming through on the Lincoln Square Substack, folks. If you're looking for a battle plan, for fighting this authoritarian movement, we're your folks. Now, I'm going to do the not humble brag, because as my grandmother says, humbly, false humility is the worst kind. You can also catch my 794 podcast offerings. We on the Lincoln Project podcast, the Enemies List podcast. We also have every Friday the Elephant in the Room, where I try to peel back the curtain on something that is happening in politics that looks like one thing and it's actually another. We also do lives constantly and are out there trying to make sure we're helping folks contextualize and understand what's going on in the news. And we thank you all for watching tonight. And Stuart
And look,
Jeff,
let me just put this, you really should be subscribing to Rick's Substack, because, there's a statute, it's illegal to publish him too much on Lincoln Square. There's some issues there. So if you really should get, what he's done in his Substack is just amazing. I mean, a lot of people start Substacks and it's kind of like, I should start a Substack, but don't really put their heart and soul into it. Rick really has, and it's tremendous.
I got a notification from Substack, your 95th week of publishing. I'm like, Jesus, I mean, how is this even possible for 2 years? But folks, if you want to look at one of my favorite pieces of writing, Molly Jong Fast and I, a couple years ago, wrote a piece called "Who Killed Jeffrey Epstein? A Summer Night in Manhattan," and it's a parody that I posted last night. It's actually one of my favorite pieces because it is what MAGA believed was probably happening the night Epstein died. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Please go, like I said, go out, join Lincoln Square, share the content, check us out in all the places you can find us, which is pretty much everywhere. Anyway, thanks everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
See you soon. See you, Jeff. Take care.